Okay, good evening, everyone. I think it's time to get started. My name is Jennifer Shylansky from the League of Women Voters, and I will be your moderator tonight for the Wildwood City Council Candidate Forum. So I'm going to go over the ground rules for this evening's forum, and then we're just going to get right to it. First of all, this is a forum. It's not a debate. The candidates won't be addressing each other. They'll be addressing you, their constituents, and answering the questions that you provide to them. So we have volunteers in the back. Raise your hand, volunteers, who have these little cards. Feel free to write whatever questions you have on these cards. Flag down one of our volunteers to get a card. They will collect it and bring it to me. I would ask in your questions, please just put one question on a card. And the only real ground rule is we do ask, or actually require, that the candidates be, or excuse me, the questions be of a general nature that any candidate can answer. Each of your candidates will have 2 minutes to make an opening remark. Every candidate will get 1 minute to answer every question, and then they'll get 2 minutes to make a closing remark. Our timer, Karen, here will signal the candidates when they have 30 seconds to go, and then when their time is done. I do ask the candidates that if when their time is up, to finish their sentence and cede the floor. So we will start. Mr. Mabry will make the first opening statement, and then all the candidates will take turns going first, answering a question, and then Mr. Jelani will start the closing statements. So with that, I'm going to rotate here. Mr. Mabry will make the first opening statement. Over to you, Mr. Mabry.
Thank you kindly. I'm Bob Mabry, up for hopeful re-election, council member for Ward 2. My favorite story, most applicable in this setting, is my wife and I have had tooled around 1.5 years on weekends, on roads we never knew existed, and some we still probably haven't driven on Sundays, before we built out here 38 years ago. Not only have we lucked out with kindred spirits, share the same priorities that our family does, this whole area has grown with a vision that my wife and I had pictured that long ago. Been focused on respectful, intelligent growth and development that we've remarked is required for any healthy living organism. And I think that's what we've always thought our city was. But on the other hand, nothing's really dropped off the plate. Constant scrutiny, indications of compromise, even threats to the goals that we've envisioned. For supporting issues, watershed erosion, repair, mitigation, it's really chirped up as a high priority. The largest concentration of sale signs I've seen in our Ward 2 are going to bring with it applications for development, and those always bring with them applications and requests for variances to zoning that has been established by our master plan, which I'm here to tell you is to be adhered to, not to be deviated from. So it's just developers desiring to bring more families to our area, and our area dedicated to making certain that the topography and the green space is compatible with those drives. Thank you.
Mr. Ottenberg.
All right. Thank you very much. I am Scott Ottenberg, a council member here on the Wildwood City Council from Ward 3. I have lived with my family here in Wildwood for 30 years. And before I go any further, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for being here and sponsoring this event. It takes a lot of time and effort to put something like this together. So thank you for being here. One of my main priorities as a council member has been the safety and security of our residents. In other words, safe streets and safe neighborhoods. A couple of years ago, I was proud to make the initial motion to pass a piece of legislation which toughened penalties on vehicle tampering. And in fact, Wildwood is a safer place today than it was a year ago. From 2024 to 2025, we have seen crime against people decline by 12% and crimes against property decline 21%. I've supported safety enhancements to our streets, including resurfacing of State Routes 100, 109, Taylor Road, and also intersection improvements on Highway 109 and 100. We've got new traffic signals on 109 and 100 and Shepherd Road. And if you've noticed some of the poles we use for those traffic signals, they're a much more aesthetically pleasing black color rather than the old dingy, what I'll call silver gray color that we used for quite some time. The other big priority I've had has been fiscal responsibility. I have not supported a tax increase within this city. I've supported balanced budgets. One of the big accomplishments this city had several years ago is we were able to expand high-speed internet access to underserved parts of our city without a tax increase. So that's a significant accomplishment. Unless you, really pay close attention to these things, you may not have noticed that Wildwood has one of the lowest tax bases of any of the local municipalities. We don't have a property tax like some other municipalities have. We don't have a stormwater tax. We don't have a parks tax. So Wildwood is a great place to live because of our low tax base. So again, just summing up, my priorities have been and always will be safety and security and fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Mr. Farmer.
Thanks. As Scott said, thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this on, and thanks to the residents that have joined us this evening and those of you that are watching online. This is really kind of one of the few opportunities that you get as residents of the city to see how everybody sort of positions themselves or their specific goals, because everything else is usually in a group setting where we're voting on things. So this is great. I've been on the city council for several years. I represent Ward 4. I'm currently the mayor pro tem. I'm the chair of the Admin and Public Works Committee and also the Watershed Erosion Task Force. So as my previous colleagues have said, watershed is a huge deal in our city. We're working on a new plan, which I'm super excited about. We've been working on this for 6 years, that we're going to finally start to get to roll out, I hope later this year, which will start to address some of our watershed issues and give us a good guide on how to move forward. So that's an exciting thing. A lot of things in city work take a really, really long time to get done. And so being able to see something more or less from the beginning to the end has been a pretty exciting deal. I'm really a big advocate of transparency and trying to make things simple and clear so that all of our residents understand what it is we're doing, what they can do. I think, as Mr. Mabry said, when we have development opportunities that come to town, those are always a little bit of a contentious issue. There is a very large part of our population in the city that doesn't want anybody new seemingly to move into the city. So they're against all development. I'm not a huge proponent of development. I'm for smart development and kind of doing it the right way. And growing up out here, I've kind of seen it change over the years. And I think we've got a good plan in place and we need to keep it as we move forward. So thanks for coming out, everybody.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Means.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As my colleagues have said, I wanted to say thank you to the League of Women Voters. This is very important. Something important to me is community engagement, and forums like this are fantastic. So quick introduction. Hello, my name is Chris Means. I'm a longtime resident of Wildwood. Have a daughter at Lafayette High School. Excellent place to raise a family. On the way here today, I saw people walking their dogs and on our beautiful paths and a gorgeous sunset. So I really do care about our community. Over the past 20 years, I've been in corporate leadership, financial services, optimization. These are skills that I can bring directly to this board. Very comfortable with a spreadsheet. Tonight, I'm here to listen. I'm here to learn. And I'm here to work for Wildwood. The people need a voice, and I would like to contribute to that. So a goal of mine is to see Wildwood continue to thrive and be a part of that movement. So thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rambaud.
Good evening. It's been my privilege to serve Ward 6 for 3 terms. I've approached that duty the same way I approach life. I do my homework, show up prepared, listen to people, and ponder the long-term effects before I make any decision. My city priorities are public safety, number one, fiscal responsibility, property values, and our environment. I'm the fifth generation of my family since 1859 to live on my family farm in Hollow. So I've got a personal stake in Wildwood's future. I grew up spending most of my life outdoors, be it hunting, fishing, choring, or exploring. So conservation isn't a talking point for me. It's a big part of my life. I spent my career as a scientist and engineer, and that taught me to look at evidence and consider consequences. But in local government, credentials matter less than judgment, balance, and respect for the people we serve. Steady, prepared leadership is what matters most. Folks in Ward 6 don't all see things the same way, so my job is to listen to everyone, find the best compromises for the most residents, and be open about my decision processes. So I make decisions the same way most residents manage their own affairs. I think carefully based on the facts and with an eye toward the long term. That's what I believe Wildwood deserves. Since I have a minute, finally, I should say that if there are 40 facts to be considered, I want to say all 40, as everyone up here knows. And that makes 1 minute answers hard for me, which is why I have notes, but I will do my best. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Galani.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on and allowing us all to be here. It's a great opportunity to be able to speak to the constituents and the residents of Wildwood. Just a quick introduction of myself, Mike Galani. I'm Ward 8. I've served, finishing my third term on the Wildwood City Council, running for my fourth. Not a politician, so I never envisioned myself being here for the first term, let alone running for the fourth. So happy to do it. I consider it a service to my community and trying to do the best I can to serve all the constituents, not just of Ward 8, but the entire city in general. And I think that's something that is very difficult at times for council members to keep in consideration because there's a lot of different forces in play and things that opinions at hand. So I'm here for the connection to the community. I've been a business owner. I own my own company for 14 years. I've been corporate side of the executive side of the business world, and I've ran a P&L very conscientiously for many years. So I'm aware of how the financial side of things is the most important, in my opinion, in order for long-term sustainability and viability. So like I said before, I'm in Ward 8, and I've served 3 years on the Parks and Planning Commission as a chair. I've also served on the Economic Development Committee, the Watershed Erosion Task Force, and the Historic Preservation Committee. So I've kind of been around on all different parts. I do believe in development in the town center area. I've made that clear in my time on council. However, I'm very important that it's sensible development, that it adheres to the master plan very closely. There's only 2% of the city that's zoned for high density development. And so that's here in town center. But the long-term financial concerns for the city are the fact that we've got a very limited stream of revenue, and we've got a lot of parks, and we've got a lot of things out there we have to take care of and maintain to stay functioning. So that's something that we have to be very cognizant of and focused on as we move forward and how we're spending the little revenue we have and staying fiscally responsible. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes our opening remarks, and Mr. Ottenberg will field the first question, which is, discuss what you would like to see updated in the Wildwood Master Plan, and how will you help to ensure the plan's goals are met?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is, the master plan has been in place for quite some time. I think it served us pretty well. In addition to the master plan itself, erosion, as one of my colleagues mentioned before, is a primary issue here within the city. And that's something we have to address immediately or as soon as possible. We've had a couple of opportunities for funding from the state that have made it all the way to the governor's office only to be vetoed. We need to keep pushing to try to get that funding. We have an opportunity now through MSD, the Metropolitan Sewer District, to get some funding from them in order to begin to fix some of these erosion problems, which are significantly impacting some of our residents. And that needs to be one of our top priorities. Thank you.
Mr. Farmer.
Thanks. Yeah, the master plan is I think a great document. I think the people 30 years ago that worked very hard to incorporate the city and worked to get that plan put together did a wonderful job. That being said, we're going through the process now of updating it. And one of the things that I've noticed over my time on council is a lot of times the master plan certainly exists and it has really good aspects in it, but some of those things aren't particularly functional, or sometimes we'll put something in it that doesn't play out over the course of time. And so I think what I would like to do is see the master plan kind of set up so that it's a series of philosophies that kind of frame what Wildwood is, rather than super specific items, because I think those usually just get kind of lost in the minutia of things.
Excuse me, Mr. Means.
Thank you. So I am in the learning phase currently. I did read the master plan that we have currently, and I was blown away. It was well done. The writers were just fantastic. Forward thinking. It's updated every 10 years. So we do have an opportunity to streamline that. As I learn about these specific issues, I'll definitely look into as much as I possibly can. But as of right now, erosion stands out. And then the long-term impact of these decisions. So that would be important to me.
Mr. Rombud?
Yes, I happen to be serving on the resident-led, I would say, master plan 10-year update committee. We do that once a decade since 95, 05, 15, and now again. We're a little bit behind the curves because it's 2026 now. But I think it's a great document. We have the challenges that I see are we're in a new rainfall regime. We need to figure out ways to better protect the watersheds and manage runoff better, and impose erosion controls. I think in some sensitive areas we may need to increase our sacred 3-acre minimum lot size to 5 acres or something like that, or at least come up with creative ways to address that issue. There's 10 other things I could talk about, but like I said, I'm out of time. Nope, she just put it down.
Okay, Mr. Galani.
Yes, thank you. Similar to what the other guys up here said, is that I think the master plan is a great document. I think there's a lot of thought put into it at the time it was created, and I think there's been some good adjustments made over the years. One of the things that I would like to see addressed is something we've talked about for the entirety of my time on city council, is our reserve fund. We've got a very large reserve fund. I think it's much larger than it needs to be per se. And I think it's the taxpayers' money, and we need to figure out a way of how to handle that and effectively make sure that we have a reserve fund that is necessary for the size of the city and the scope of our budget, but also make sure we're not sitting on funds that could be used when we're talking about imposing additional tax levies on our residents for different things. And watershed's obviously a big deal. And the last thing I'll say really quick is that I also think 16 council members for a city of Wildwood size is too many. I would advocate that we would look at making an adjustment to that. Thanks.
And Mr. Mabry.
It's either a curse or a blessing to go last ever. Not replicating and duplicating what's been said already. The master plan, an incredibly powerful document. If it's used as both written and intended, and the largest tussle I've seen between the two is how and who and when either is prioritized. With attention by those who are amending it now, I'd like attention paid to what conditions, what conditionals, what exclusions would be provided for, whether strict adherence, creative deviance. Even one thing that I've found is outside of residential, commercial, industrial, other types of quality of life to be contended with as well.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Farmer has the next question, and it is, how would you work to revitalize the town center?
Well, so I think we've done a big part of that, and it was a difficult decision, and it was a difficult vote. For those of you that came in, there's a new building being built on the other side of the movie theater, which is something new for our city. But I thought at the time, and I still think it's something that's important. One of the balances that we have as a city is we are a bedroom community with a very, very small business base, and we might get to a question on this later, but that puts us at a huge risk from a financial standpoint in terms of our city budget. And so I think when we look at pieces of land that have been around for 30 years and something has never been able to get done, and now we have something like that, I think it'll be a big step. And then I also think connecting Main Street, which runs outside of City Hall here, is kind of the next phase to bring kind of the two sides of Town Center together.
Mr. Means.
Thank you. So I think it's important, since I'm new to the board, on the way I would approach these types of issues. I really do think that it's a three-part series where you'll look at a master plan, you'll look at the city charter, and you'll hear the voice of the residents, and then filter your decisions based on those things. Starting there is where I would make those decisions. As far as the specifics with the development and in the town center, again, I would have to look at those three things first.
Okay. Mr. Rombod.
It's Rambo, by the way. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Farmer. The one of the most important things that we can do is complete Main Street. Right now, we just kind of dead end, and we have built a gorgeous new park over here with a it's called Unlimited Play. It's accessible to all children regardless of ability. It's going to be a great thing, but right now it's hard. It's going to be hard for folks to get there. I think that's priority one. I also think that Town Center in some areas looks a bit shabby, and we could spend some of our reserve money. It wouldn't take much to spruce it up a little bit. And we also need to improve the visibility of existing businesses, because we have these incredibly restrictive sign ordinances, which I mostly support, but I think we need to figure out ways to bring people into Town Center.
Yeah, so this is something obviously that's near and dear to my heart, being a Ward 8 council member. And I think that one of the number one things that we need to do, and I've been very vocal about this on my time on council, is we need people in Town Center to revitalize Town Center. And so we see a lot of businesses that come in and people that take risks to open them, and they open and then they close a lot of times just as quick as they open. And it's because we don't have enough foot traffic here in Town Center. And so, the Mia Rose development that's going in over here at Main Street and Taylor is, I think, very important to bring in people that will be able to walk around and shop and go to the businesses and patronize them. And that's really going to create a revitalization of folks in the area. I think opening Main Street is important as well, because that completes the thoroughfare through. It allows people to go through Town Center. And once again, I think the sensible development that will bring the people here into the heart of the city is what's going to allow the area to survive and thrive. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Mabry.
More of the same of what I've seen the last 2 years. The resolve of staff and council and the mayor to not just abide by or acquiesce to, but actively support the tenets of Town Center's premise and goals. The large development referred to opposite the movie theater, contentious to say the least, but eminently and eventually, and then forever after, a real mover and shaker for the city. And then other developments the same, under the same guise of the same guidelines, just more of the same.
And Mr. Ottenberg.
Yes, thank you. So I think we've made great strides revitalizing the town center. Some of the things that have already been mentioned, I would echo. The new apartment development over on the other side of the B&B movie theater with 187 new apartments, bringing new customers into our city, new residents into our city. The Village Green right next door, which will be a great location for many of the various entertainment options that the city gets involved in. The all-inclusive playground, which is a fantastic addition to our city. Over across 109, we've got the Reserve, which is bringing in over 100 new single-family dwellings. And then we've got the Point at Brightleaf, just on the northeast corner of 100 and 109, bringing in 30 plus new houses. So all of these are great strides that we have made. We've brought in new businesses like the Good News Brewing Company, the new Indian restaurant, new Mediterranean restaurant over by Schnucks. We've accomplished a lot. We've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, and we'll keep working at it.
Okay, so on to the next question, and Mr. Means, you will have first shot at it. And the question is, what role should hunting play in deer population management? And you can also address deer population management in general.
Thank you. So this is a very important position. As someone coming in new to the board, something this important would need lots of details. So from my experience in corporate America, especially in efficiencies, we make data-driven decisions. So what does that mean? So you take all applicable information. Now that could be from the residents, the town charter, the master plan. You filter that through, and the answer becomes the answer actually becomes prevalent to you after you dig into the data. So that being said, data-driven decisions.
Okay. Mr. Rambo.
Well, first I'll note that I have a very strong conservation background. I've been on deer stands in Wildwood since my mother was carrying me in the 50s. Killed my first deer out here in 1968. I understand hunting. I have consistently stated my support for archery hunting as an adjunct to the cull program that we have. But the program that we have is a scientifically designed, professionally run program. It has to be conducted safely with respect for residents and neighborhoods. Wildwood's deer management decisions were based on data and long-term outcomes rather than emotions or speculation. And they're guided by established wildlife science and professional expertise. Archery hunting alone has never achieved results at the scale we need. The role of hunting is to help maintain the population at the Missouri Conservation Department recommended healthy levels.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Galani. Okay.
Yeah. So when it comes to the hunters as means of deer population, I'm not opposed to engaging with private citizens and hunters and doing that. I do believe, though, that there has to be a little bit more traction there when it comes to the organization, the insurability, controlling liabilities, and an actual plan in place on how that would work and how it would be implemented. I know that the council spent a lot of time discussing and vetting the White Buffalo professional organization that we had originally engaged with to do that. And it was a 5-year plan that we initially agreed to and put in place. And so because of our budget, we have to relook at it and reapprove it each year. So it brings it back up for redebate and litigation. But like I said, we shot that down this year, and I'm totally open to a conversation on what it would look like, but it would have to be an organized entity that we would have to engage with a plan and with all those other safety nets and safeguards in place to ensure that would not end up costing the city more money than what we were spending before and what is being claimed. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Mabry.
The success of any program that's different than the one that's been contracted will require what I see as even the slightest it's the slightest capabilities of the hunters groups, plural, to become confederates and become agreeable to involvement with the contracted program that I support completely. Anything other than that will be fraught with the confusion and the strain and the budget problems and costs that bear directly on threats, active threats to residential safety. And that I cannot abide at all.
Mr. Ottenberg.
Yes, thank you. So we've had a deer management program in place for the last couple of years. We paused it this last year just to re-examine it. Some information came to us that we might be able to do it in a more cost-effective manner by incorporating some bow hunting into the deer management effort. Obviously, the question is, what is the correct balance between using sharpshooters and using the bow hunters? We've had a lot of passionate debate on the council. I'm sure we'll continue to have some additional passionate debate, but we've got pretty committed people, 16 of them on the council. And I'm sure we'll get to that perfect blend of using the sharpshooters and the bow hunters, and it'll result in a cost-effective deer management plan that'll be in the best interests of our citizens.
And Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, thanks. So I think a lot of this has already been said, but we're going to talk about this here next month in the admin meeting, and then we'll have a report back to City Council about the feasibility of incorporating bow hunters into the wider program. I would say this, I've had a lot of conversations with bow hunters recently, and one of the kind of refrains that I get back from them is hunting and culling are two functionally different things. And so I think that much like what we found, I believe the first time we went around this several years ago, I think that there certainly is an aspect of maintenance that hunters can do, because right now we have areas of our city that are literally overrun by deer. I think it would be physically very difficult for a group of people to be able to remove the number of deer in the time period necessary to make an impact. And so I think, as everybody has said, I think there's a room for both, but I think both are definitely required. And I think we need to continue to invest and go along with our plan as we've had to get our population to a somewhat reasonable level, which is still something like double what it should be, and get everybody involved.
Okay. So we're on to the next question. Mr. Rambo will have the opportunity to answer it first, and it is, how would you handle complaints about the city's street and sidewalk repairs?
Gee. I think the Department of Public Works does a pretty good job. It's kind of like if it's right in your face, that's the problem that you see. But our streets and roads are in pretty good shape. I don't think we have any more money available to us to do a whole lot more. There's a program that assesses the streets, identifies the worst problems, and puts that in this next budget cycle for a slab replacement or a repavement or whatever the case may be. Maybe I'm a little biased because my neighborhood was just taken care of completely. Every road around me has recently been resurfaced. But opinions vary. And I think overall they do a good job.
Okay. Mr. Galani?
Yeah. Similarly, I think, once again, the Public Works Department does do a fabulous job. I think all of the city staff does a great job in their respective departments. And so I'm grateful for that, because in a city that has as much real estate as we do here in Wildwood, I think our teams do a fabulous job on managing what they can to get things done within the budget constraints that are there as well. We pass a balanced budget every year, and we try to concrete is not cheap. And, even this year in our budget, we had to dip into the reserve fund on a few occasions in order to keep the budget balanced. So these are things we have to keep an eye on, and there's only so much that can be allocated to different parts of the different things in the city that need to be maintained throughout the year. So I would say that we're doing a great job on a macro level, and there's always things that can be done to improve. But we have to stay within our budgets, and we have to prioritize what we're looking at, which is how we do it now. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Mabry?
I've made discussion intentional with residents, surrounding neighbors, others even further out and about in my ward. Ward 2 is exceptional in that it's divvied up half and half with large lot development, and it's much smaller, more dense neighborhood living. And I've specifically asked, how we doing with Life by You, basically, and then leave it to them. And I'll poke at streets because it's something everybody lives and drives with. And I can't get anybody at all to complain about the streets. A couple of occasions, they've actually chirped up and said, no, the streets are doing quite well. They've been out, they've repaired, and they've improved this, and now they're over from doing that. So I can cut short. There's nothing I got to gripe about, and nothing that my neighbors can come up with either.
Mr. Ottenberg.
Thank you. So when it comes to addressing issues with our city streets, they break down into two issues. One is the minor inconveniences from bumps that may be uncomfortable to drive over, but they don't necessarily present a safety hazard. The other are the potholes that can damage your car or potentially cause an accident. So we do a great job of cataloging all of the minor inconveniences that are out there when it comes to bumps in the street. And when there is a serious issue with a massive pothole that can cause injury or damage, we get out there and we fix those right away. Also, sometimes when we talk to the residents about a problem, we do have to explain that an issue they may have come across on 109 is not something that we can fix right away because that's a MoDOT highway, or just like Clayton Road, that's a county highway. So those figure into the discussion sometimes that we have with the citizens, but we've come a long way. And we've done a great job. We've resurfaced a lot of the highways and streets in the city. That's gone a long way towards enhancing the safety and security of driving for our residents.
Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, I think everybody said a lot of good stuff. We instituted or have instituted a program over the last couple of years using our GIS system, which is a mapping system that is identifying where some of our trouble spots are. And so our city staff, I think, is super responsive when something is on a city road. I think, as Mr. Ottenberg mentioned, most of my ward is kind of cut in the middle with Clayton Road, as is Mr. Mabry's. And the largest number of complaints I get are Clayton and the Clayton sidewalks. And it is a pretty frustrating conversation. We've kind of sent a letter to the county. We've asked our county representatives to try to really address Clayton Road because it is a huge thoroughfare here and it is in pretty bad shape. They've come out and patched some things, which is great. But they definitely need to do some work in there. And unfortunately, the city really can't address those things because it isn't our road.
And Mr. Means.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to second that the Department of Works and the city has done a great job. As long as I've been a resident, I've never had major issues. Minor inconveniences and in major potholes, obviously different. But just anecdotally, walking around, talking to my neighbors, asking what their concerns are. I haven't heard a lot of concerns in that realm. So I'm very, very proud of what's been accomplished, and I'm eager to learn more.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Galani will field the next question first, and it is, if elected, what is the first thing you would want to change, or what is your highest priority?
I don't have anything specific that I would want to change first if I was elected, considering this would be my fourth term. So I think we've got a lot of things that we've been working on over the term of my time here on city council. I would like to continue following that path of constant improvement for the city and keeping things on track to keep going in the right direction. I think it's, a lot of times there's a lot of different tangents that the council is attempted to be dragged into in one direction or another, and a lot of different issues. And I think, maintaining our focus on the fiscal responsibility and managing the master plan, and so that we don't go in directions that are unnecessary is what's most important. I think I've made my positions clear on the previous 3 terms, and I would continue to follow that path and just do it the best I can for not just Ward 8, but for the city in general.
And Mr. Mabry.
Well spoken. Not stealing my thunder, though. If I had only one highest priority instead of the 5 or 6 that I really have, what would rank up there would be what I see as increased enthusiasm for activity and development of the large plats in my ward, in Ward 2. They can be somewhere else, but I don't drive there every day. I see the for sale signs along the main arteries of Ward 2. And with that, as I accidentally got to mention before, with those for sale signs bring sales. And then right on the heels of that, you've got rezoning and development proposals that start off as required by developers to be quite exaggerated over what any plan should be, much less our master plan. So that's a challenge that's coming. Watersheds, that's only one of 5 or 6 other #1 priorities.
Mr. Ottenberg.
So safety and security of the residents, fiscal responsibility, those are 2 big goals for the city that will always be ongoing. In terms of an immediate need, it would be addressing the erosion issues we have in this city. We've got some areas where the erosion is so bad, it's eating up the backyards of some of the homeowners. In one case, a homeowner is seeing his patio actually starting to drop downwards and slant down towards a creek. We've got another subdivision where along the backside of the subdivision, along the property line, there used to be a beautiful row of trees. A lot of those trees have disappeared because the erosion has eaten up the creek bank and the trees have fallen over into the creek. Also, the erosion has the issue, or I should say has the potential to impact some of our bridges here in the city. All we need to do is get another one of those once in a lifetime rainfalls. We get flooding and we could have some significant issues with some of the banks on the backsides of some of the properties.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, I think much like Councilmember Galani, this would be my last term. So we've started a lot of things that I'd like to see finished for sure. We've worked really hard on the watershed and I'm very proud of it. But I actually think one of the things we've kicked into gear here recently is getting sort of the city's finances figured out. It's been a little touched on here, but for years we've talked about how should we be investing this money? How much money is supposed to be in this reserve? How does this work? And what we've kind of learned is we have a huge reserve, much larger than any other city around, but a lot of that was due to kind of deferred maintenance and some other things. And so we've got some projects and things that we need to take care of that have been sort of kicked down the curb for a long time. And then we can have a much better idea of what we need to do, whether it might be a parks and stormwater tax to address some of these watershed issues or whatever. But right now we just got to lock up and lock in on what the city needs to do financially, and then we can press forward from there.
And Mr. Means?
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate a lot of what everyone has said already. Safety and security imperative, obviously. Wildwood has a fantastic history with this. We'd like to continue with this. Watershed is a real issue. So that's something that I'll definitely dig into, understand from a resident's perspective, from a factual perspective. Fiscal responsibility, imperative, obviously. Transparency and the voice of the residents. These are all like imperatives that we need to go after. All of these things combined together create Wildwood being a great place to raise a family.
And Mr. Rambo?
Well, first, what they said. So I'm going to go take a little different tack. My goal would never be dramatic change, but steady improvement. I think Wildwood has a very strong but very small staff that makes us a well-run community. And we don't need wholesale changes, but I think we do need to look hard at staffing. Whichever way that goes, we also need to do better at using the advice we pay professional consultants dearly to provide. The idea of finding better ways to grow and use our substantial financial reserves is sort of a given. And I've always sort of been on that horse. So my focus in essence would be continuing to improve planning, infrastructure, and above all, communication with residents while protecting the rural character that makes Wildwood special.
Thank you. So we are going to start back on the left again with Mr. Mabry. And your question is, what kind of business would you like to bring to Wildwood to increase the city's revenue base, and where would you put those businesses?
Perfect question. Thank you. I'd like exploration in the development philosophy of bringing quality of life programs or quality of life development. And an example, only one, of a much larger realm for the preservation of our green space and for the highest and best use of that. Build a public golf course in the city of Wildwood. And that's not because I like golf. I don't like golf. I don't even like people that like golf. And I've stated such in St. Louis County Planning and Zoning when a golf course was proposed near my subdivision 30 years ago. But just as that, and just as we already have dog runs, and just as we already have other types of wellness centers, something that's not a dense residential development on topographically challenged ground, but that still supports quality of life initiatives.
Okay. Mr. Ottenberg.
So businesses should be concentrated here in what we call our town center area, which is roughly about 800 acres. And just to put that in perspective, the city of Wildwood is about 67 square miles. So that 800 acres where we have our businesses concentrated only is about 2% of our land mass. In terms of the types of businesses I'd like to see come here, a wide variety of businesses. So I mentioned some of the businesses that have come to the city a few minutes ago, restaurants and so on. Today, we attended a ribbon cutting for a wellness clinic that is located across the road from the YMCA. And then this afternoon, along with a couple of other city staff, I visited a museum located in another city that is looking to relocate. It would be a good addition to our city, might also fit in well with St. Louis Community College. So there's a lot of unique, varied opportunities that could potentially come to our city. So I don't think we should necessarily have our blinders on that there's one type of business that we should bring here. There are a lot of opportunities out there. We just need to find them and pursue them.
And Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, well, I think, as Scott said, as a city, we've done a tremendous job of running a whole lot of businesses off over the years. And so, we're working hard now to revitalize Town Center. I've got a daughter in middle school, and she is up here every single day with her friends, wandering around and doing stuff. And, they would love a thing for kids to do, whatever that may be. But I think what we need to be doing is being welcoming to businesses that want to come and partner with the city. I think that's a unique thing that we do. I think that, we do have some different kind of hurdles that businesses need to jump through, and we're working on getting some of those solved. But I really think, people that want to come out and make a connection to the community, this museum could be a very cool thing. Stuff for people to do, not just somewhere to go, I guess is the best way I would describe it.
Mr. Means.
Yeah, this is an important question. From my background, you want to start with the end in mind. So what's the voice of the client? What's the demand there that's going to keep a business sustained? I would start with questions like that. Once you have some targeted ideas, then, we can start looking at options. But I kind of wanted to second that it's not necessarily about picking and choosing the particular business that you want. It's really what's going to be sustainable long term.
Mr. Rambeau.
Right. So I'm not a creative guy, and this question is not in my wheelhouse. I miss fine dining. We've had at least couple of fine dining establishments here over the years, and they're now defunct, and we have lost several other restaurants. That's all selfish. But I do think that we need a critical mass in town center of population, make it walkable. And then it's kind of, if you build it, they will come. The Main Street completion and Village Green will both help in that regard. The unlimited playground will really help bring folks in. But I think the city can do a better job at attracting all sorts of businesses to town center.
And Mr. Galani.
Yeah, I think when it comes to attracting businesses, I think, you need to start with who are going to be the constituents of those businesses, who's going to patronize them. Businesses are in operation to make money, and they have to have people coming to them to do that. And so with restaurants here in town center, we have a hard time because we don't have any corporations or businesses in Wildwood that have a lunch crowd. So restaurants have to make their money in the evenings for dinner and cater to the masses. And so we got to keep those types of things in consideration. And so bringing people to town center, I think, is a number one focal point. We can't sit here. We spend a lot of time on economic development talking about bringing businesses in, but then we oppose opportunities to bring people in. And so you got to bring the people first, and that will attract the businesses. They go where the people go. And the people will decide what type of businesses they want in the city, because that's what the businesses will be attracted to. And they'll be able to profit and survive, as opposed to continuously moving in and then having to move out. So I think it's the people first, and then the businesses will come. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Mr. Ottenberg has the next question first, and it is, do you support reducing the 3-acre lot requirement?
No. Excuse me, I do not support reducing the 3-acre lot requirement. It's been in place for quite some time. It has served us well, and I would not support making any changes to that requirement.
Okay. Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that this is probably going to be a pretty unanimous answer, but I also would not support.
Remember, no is a complete sentence. So.
That's true. I would also support not reducing it, but I do think it's important that as a city, we do a better job of explaining exactly how it works, because there's a great deal of people that live in our city that think every lot in the city needs to be 3 acres. As some of people have said, the town center doesn't really apply that way. And there's other areas where you have to have some PRDs and things to situate things. So I would say 3-acre minimum and make it as simple as possible.
And Mr. Means.
Yeah, thank you. As it stands right now with the master plan, it is a 3-acre lot. Those were put in place for a reason. I would agree that reducing that would be out of scope for the master plan.
Okay. And Mr. Rambo.
This question sort of is in my wheelhouse. Wildwood's rural character is one of the main reasons people choose to live here. And aside from public safety, that's protecting that character has always been my top priority. At the same time, landowners have rights and development's going to occur. So the question is how? And I will say that great planning can sometimes achieve the density that we need while reducing erosion and preserving more woodlands and natural areas. I think, for example, cluster homes on smaller areas while leaving large natural areas permanently protected. I will say that my example is, during my tenure, there's only been one new development in Ward 6, and that was 12 homes on 67 acres, nearly 6 acres per home. That's an appropriate density for that site, and I completely agree with that approach. These homes were built in an existing hayfield that belonged to a family friend, and it has very strong environmental safeguards, and it's almost hidden by protected forest. I think that's the way we need to go.
And Mr. Galani.
No.
Okay. And Mr. Mabry.
I'm involved in more with residents, with neighbors, with anyone, is the difference, the big distinction between 3-acre minimum lot size, 3-acre zoning, and 3-acre density. I favor common ground all day long. Nobody can mess with it but the animals. It serves as water retention and erosion control, and I'm all for the smallest postage stamp size house that anybody wants to pay for on 3-acre density and 3-acre zoning with PRDs as well, for creativity and for sensitivity to topography. But other than that, no.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go on to the next question. Mr. Farmer has it first, and it is, how do you stay connected with residents?
Well, I actually, I get feedback from residents, via email like everybody else. I get a lot of phone calls and text messages. I walk around and talk to people. I'm a I'm the president of the HOA, so I have about 400 houses in my neighborhood. I go to all of the HOA meetings that are in Ward 4. And so I am kind of constantly trying to make myself available, and I constantly try to get back answers. Even if they're answers people don't want, I actually, when I go around and door knock and things, I'll tell people, you're probably not going to agree with everything I vote on, but I'm always happy to tell you why I did it and explain it to you. So I think it's an important thing. And, you know, the internet makes it pretty easy to connect to people all over the place.
Mr. Means.
Yes, this is a very important subject. The voice of the residents is obviously imperative. So email, phone calls, face-to-face, HOA meetings, in the city's website. So that we have a great website. There's a lot of good communication there too. But yeah, anything that we can do to make sure that is bridged, that's important.
Mr. Rambo.
Yeah, I think local government works best when council members are accessible and accountable to the folks they represent. I've maintained near perfect attendance for, I have to say, much more than my share of city meetings. And I show up early and I linger late to provide opportunities for chat before issues even reach the council chamber. But I tried town halls, but nobody came. We're too spread out in Ward 6 to go knock on doors. I don't want anybody driving up my quarter-mile driveway if I don't know them, you know, kind of thing. And so, so one thing folks surely know about me is when someone calls, I respond. Spending extra time to hear neighbors' concerns helps me ensure that my decisions are sort of congruent with what those folks are thinking.
Mr. Galani.
Yeah, similar to what's been said already. I mean, as far as engaging with residents, making myself available, anytime I'm engaged by a resident for questions or concerns related to anything going on in the city or the ward, I always respond. Always try to give as much input and information as possible. We've had numerous town hall meetings in our ward over the course of the years, as well as HOA meetings, and we've even had different meetings related to controversial issues that come up related to specific developments. We've met with residents at local restaurants or even here at City Hall for different purposes. And I try to attend all the concerts that go on in the city, as well as celebrate Wildwood. And then similar to Councilmember Rambo over here, I've got a near perfect attendance record as well, and serving as chair of the Parks and Planning, and always try to make myself available around meeting times as well to any residents that want to talk or engage.
Mr. Mabry.
Yeah, I'm not above pestering people when I want opinions to gather data about a decision that I have to make that might be different than the one I presumed from just having lived here numerous decades. And I'll always favor talking to them. I get a chance to do that now with door to door as an excuse for doing it instead of just telling people I'm ambling up and talking to people at random. But it's talking to them. It isn't answering their emails of questions that have misleading or erroneous information. It's talking to them. That's it.
Thank you. And Mr. Ottenberg.
Yes, it's important to stay face to face with the residents. It's the best way to find out what's on their minds. When I was first appointed to the council back in 2021, the first time I was up for reelection in 2022, I knocked on 534 doors in my Ward 3. When you're standing there at the doorway, you really hear what's on the minds of the residents. And in another initiative I was involved in a couple of years ago, I knocked on 3,182 doors throughout the city just to get a flavor for what was on the minds of everyone throughout this city. So you know you're being successful in that door-to-door effort when people are stopping you at the gas station, at the grocery store saying, hey, didn't you stop by my house one time? And it's a good feeling to know that people appreciate the fact that you took the time to talk with them face to face.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to the next question. Mr. Means gets it first, and it is, how will you bring people together to help resolve controversial issues?
I think this is wildly important. A strong community is going to be united. If there's controversial issues. I think civil discussion, respectful discussion is imperative. Things that can be done is city council meetings, face to face. But really, it's about respectful discourse and solving the problem, because we're all in this together.
Mr. Rambo?
Yeah, there are rarely simple answers to problems. Residents have different perspectives, and every one of them deserves to be heard. For myself, I listen carefully. I review the available data, consult the experts, and then make the most responsible decision I can. As a scientist and engineer, I tend to rely heavily on facts and analysis and long-term outcomes rather than emotion or rhetoric. But just as important is respectful discussion, respectful disagreement, respect for the people affected by those decisions. My job on council, as I see it, is to balance those competing priorities and arrive at solutions to serve the entire community. And the best way to do that is to get the facts out and make sure that we can all agree on those facts. I think a solution generally presents itself if we do that.
Mr. Galani?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that I, got together with residents in relation to a controversial issue. So here in Ward 8, in my ward, the heart of the 2% high density development district, we tend to have the most controversial issues that come up here. And just this past year, we had a highly controversial development project that was up. And so a lot of times when you get these types of things, there's a lot of emotion involved from both sides. And so I took the time to meet with the developer to hear what their concerns were, what their thoughts were, and what they were willing or able to do to make things work. And I also had a meeting with a bunch of the residents that were in the immediate area that were the most concerned about the specific development to find out what their thoughts were and have an open forum conversation on what made sense, what things would have to be looked at, and how to approach it, and what they would be willing to entertain, so that we could try to come up with, looking at the facts, and try to come up with some type of compromise to see if there was a way to make the project work or not. And so I think that's the best way to handle that, is to, calmly look at both sides, listen to what everybody has to say, take the emotion out of it, and focus on the fact and do what's best for the city.
Mr. Mabry?
Yes, following all the tenets of council members, because they're intelligent enough to have been elected by a constituency to be council members. And in addition, when I'm involved in controversial issue, the first thing I do is have the people identify, and then identify with the factors that brought the controversy to a point where it has to be discussed in the first place. Once that's done, instead of automatic decisions that never needed any human intervention, what I'll do is continue and press for what reasons it is that are keeping people apart, and cleaving them from the discussion one by one until there's a consensus, because there's never a complete agreement from any two people about anything, including my wife and I. But there is consensus, there is agreement, long-range planning, and results-oriented decisions.
Mr. Ottenberg?
Solving contentious issues and coming to consensus all involves one thing, and that's good communication. I think most of the contentious issues that we encounter, whether it's here or in life, come down to a lack of proper communication. In fact, I would say that's the truth probably 90% of the time. So if there's a contentious issue, whether it's between me and another council person, or whether it's between the city and some of our residents, or maybe it's between two groups of residents, get everybody in the same room, sit down in a non-threatening environment. Let's make sure we understand each other. Once we understand each other, it's usually much easier to come to a mutually satisfactory decision on a particular issue.
Okay. And Mr. Farmer?
Yeah, I think, I think one of the things that gets lost a lot is, as some of my colleagues have said, I mean, there's communication problems, there's things like that, but you have to be able to find a level of commonality in whatever it is. And, I have found on occasion we will have issues where a resident or somebody, a council member may state a position on something, and we work to find a common answer on that position, and then they just change to a different position because at the end of the day, they just don't want to have whatever is going to happen. And so I think being able to find a common ground is important, and also being able to understand that, usually nobody's going to get what they want 100% of the way. So finding a compromise where, sometimes it's a compromise where everybody's unhappy. That's often the best solution, because that's kind of where the middle works. You have a lot of people now in a pretty polarized place, and getting to the middle is seemingly the best place to be, I would say.
Thank you. Okay, and this is probably going to be our last question of the evening before we move on to the closing remarks. Mr. Rambo will field it first, and it is, what is the biggest economic development need?
Wow, that's a completely open-ended question.
The best.
I think I'm going to spin that a little bit
That's
and
fine.
say that we have a revenue problem. Most of our revenue depends on the pool tax from sales that occur in other surrounding communities, and that gets divvied up. But every year, the big folks like Chesterfield and whatnot go back to the state legislature and try to get our payments reduced. And so if we don't have that income, we're in a world of hurt. And so we have to figure out creative ways to increase city income, city revenues. And people hate taxes, but we have to talk long and hard about something like that that helps our cash position.
Mr. Galani?
Yeah, I think I've stated this already, but I think, from an economic development perspective, we do have a revenue problem. To Councilmember Rambo's point, we do have to deal with the pool tax. There's other municipalities that are focusing on trying to get rid of the pool tax, which would dramatically negatively impact us. And so we've spent so many decades building parks and implementing all of these infrastructure pieces to help our residents and to provide recreation, which is awesome. But the thing is all of those things require maintenance over time. That things have to be replaced and repaired, and they cost millions of dollars. So I think we need to look at the reserve, figure out what has to be in there and what we can allocate to taking care of some of these issues, and then focus on, like I said, developing the 2% of town center that's zoned high density, so we can have people here in the town center location that can service the businesses and drive tax revenue that will allow the city to function as a city for the long term.
Mr. Mabry?
As a longtime running, returning, recurring, and current trustee, my subdivision, which has grown from 7 houses to 18 since I've lived there, the most successful and effective part of my job has ever been describing or explaining satisfactorily enough for the residents, the neighbors, to understand that their dues, their annual assessments, equate directly to outcomes. Outside of the fact that we all know taxes are evil, they are also very useful to accomplish good ends. And having raised the assessments just this year from $500 a year to $1,000 a year, took a great deal of calories and energy and patience and all that goes with it. But now we will have funds to satisfactorily account for road repair, maintenance, update, improvements. We also have better quality snow removal on our private road. So translating to the city, it's a direct translation.
Mr. Ottenberg?
So it's a dual effort. It's getting new residents into our city, which we're doing by way of the apartment complex over on the other side of the B&B movie theater, 187 new apartments. I think it's 123 new single-family homes over on the other side of 109. I think it's 34 single-family homes going in on the north side of 100. Those are new potential customers for our local businesses. And then we're bringing new businesses into the city. And I mentioned some of those earlier. So it's a dual effort. It's new residents in our city, businesses for them to patronize, and recruiting new businesses, which will bring new people into the city, not just residents of Wildwood, but also residents from the surrounding communities.
Mr. Farmer?
Yeah, I think it's all been said pretty well so far. I mean, we need to get more people here, but the truth of the matter is the biggest economic development issue we have is the fact that the pool tax is under attack every year. The folks down in Jeff City are now talking about changing over property tax and sales tax and things like that. And I'm not certain that people in Wildwood really understand what that all means. 30 years ago, when the city was founded, it was founded so that we could sort of control our own destiny out here and stop urban sprawl and do things the way we wanted. It's where the master plan came up. And what we've done very successfully in those places, we have not done so successfully in controlling our own finances. We are beholden to things that are outside of our control. And if any one of those things is altered significantly or even sometimes insignificantly, it affects us greatly, which means, police protection goes away. Our ability to fix watershed goes away. Our ability to plow the streets goes away. So we really need to look at that in a very serious way. It's not something that is the most exciting or sexy thing in the world to talk about, but it is the reality of our city. If we don't have those tools, we do not have a city.
And Mr. Means.
Very important subject here. Economic development. From the master plan standpoint, you're looking at developing a town center, new people coming in, new businesses coming in, all great stuff. But as you can tell, just kind of a sense that is a very complex, problem that needs a solution. So this is going to be lots of eyes on it and lots of work, but I think we can get it done.
Okay, thank you. So now we will move into the closing remarks section of the program. And I noticed when reviewing the questions, there were a couple of questions that came up from the constituents that I thought could perhaps be best dressed as a part of your closing remarks. So keep these in mind as you make your remarks. Why are you running for city council? And what makes you the best candidate for the position? So we'll start with Mr. Galani. You've got 2 minutes.
Great, thanks. I'll start off by just saying, the 3 terms that I've had the pleasure of serving the city of Wildwood so far have been great. Once again, I never thought of myself running for city council or serving in a political capacity, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've gotten to meet a lot of great people. I've gotten to learn a lot about the civic functioning of the city and how things work, and had an ability to provide input and level some of the experiences and expertise I've had from my professional career into trying to help make the city a better place. And so I would like to continue to do those things. Why I'm running, once again, to continue working on the things that we've been working on for years now. And part of that is to maintain the respectability amongst the council. I think when you're working together and treating each other with respect and taking emotion out of conversations, it allows for things to be a lot more productive and a lot more resolutions to be brought that benefit the residents. I think maintaining fiscal responsibility is very important. Like it's been brought up already, the pool tax is under threat. We have a revenue problem in this city. I don't really believe or support additional taxes personally, but I do think that we have to balance the budget and utilize the funds that we have. It's hard to go to the residents for more taxes when we have an $18 million reserve fund that's sitting there. And so we've got to figure out what to do with that and what the right amount is. And we also got to, get difficult. Like when you're running a business, you have to make difficult decisions to run your P&L, because if you don't, you go in the red. And if you go in the red, you go bankrupt. And so I think a lot of times in government, people don't think of it in those terms because they figure there's always going to be a way to get more money if we need it. And that's not the case. So, I think bringing people to town center, revitalizing town center, this is the heartbeat of the city. If we don't do that, the city will not be here in 10 or 15 years. We have to make sure that happens. Then we also have to keep safety at top of mind. I know we're looking to try to put a roundabout in Ward 8 at Ridge and Old State Road that we've been trying to do for many years. And so we're putting roundabouts in other places. And I think we have to focus on continuing to keep it safe for the residents. Thanks.
Mr. Rambo.
Yes, kind of like my colleague, serving on council was the last thing on my mind. I'm just not a politician. I'm sort of an introverted guy, and an election was the kiss of death for me. But I've decided that that I like helping, and that's basically why I'm running, because folks call, I show up, and I think local government isn't supposed to be dramatic. Most of the time, it's about reading the material, doing the homework, doing the tedious stuff, asking questions, listening to residents, and making careful decisions that'll look right decades from now. And council deals with lots of issues across the board. And I think it's council members' duty to come prepared to evaluate them carefully. And that's the approach I've taken for the past 6 years, making sure our ordinances are applied fairly, city processes keep improving, our project bidding and approvals are consistent, and that civility in public meetings remains a priority. It's not always so. Wildwood's a special place because of our forests, our trails, our rural character. Those things didn't happen by accident. Folks like some of us before us cared enough to protect them. And it's my charge, my personal charge, to carry that forward. I grew up here, as I said, and I still live on my family's Civil War era homestead where I was born. Protecting that heritage matters a great deal to me. So if I've earned your vote again, I'll keep doing what I've been doing, showing up as prepared as I can, listen to folks, work with facts, and make decisions that serve the whole community, regardless of my personal opinion. So I'd be honored to continue serving Ward 6. And as I said, it's hard for me to give a complete answer in anywhere near a minute. So if you need more, my contact info is on my website, rrambo.net. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Mr. Means.
Yeah, this will be short and straightforward. Why am I running? I love my community. I'm privileged to live here. I'm privileged to be a part of this. What makes me, good to run. I do have, you can talk about, 20 years of experience in operations and efficiencies in business and financial services and all that stuff. But really at the end of the day, it's just, I love this community and I really want to see it thrive.
Mr. Farmer.
Yeah. Much like Mr. Rambo, I grew up in Wildwood before it was Wildwood, and it was important to me to come back when I was able to with my family because I love our city. I think it's a great place. One of the things I think about when I go out and I talk to residents, or I was going to get my signatures or knock on doors or whatever, the most common question I get from my residents is, why on earth do you keep doing this? Because the truth of the matter is, I think our job up here is very important. It is not the most sexy job in the world. It is not the most fun job in the world. It is not a show up to a meeting on a Monday night and scan over a thing and make a couple decisions. This isn't a complaint. This is just how it works. Our packets are several hundred pages that we have to go through for a council meeting. And several of us up here are chairs or have been chairs of committees. That takes an inordinate amount of time to plan and prepare for. And so, for me, I am enthused by trying to make this city a better place. I'm excited to try to continue the work that we did. When I joined the council several years ago, it was towards the end of a really contentious time where the city was in the newspaper a whole lot for a lot of reasons that weren't great. And that was one of my biggest concerns when I agreed to be appointed to the council was, I don't want to be in the paper every weekend. I don't want to do this stuff. I want the city to function well. And so we've spent a lot of time getting to a place where I think that that's happening. Sometimes we do a better job of that than others. But we've got work to do. We've done some great things. We've got some work to finish. And, I think it's important for people out there to understand that, the people that you see up on this stage, most of us are, several of us are running unopposed. A couple of us have opponents. One gentleman is brand new. But what you're seeing is people that are coming out here to take the time to talk to you guys and explain our positions. It's the same thing you'll see at meetings. It's why we show up early and we stick around late. It's to help the community. And so I really appreciate all of my colleagues that are up here and Mr. Means, who will likely be joining us since he's running unopposed, to continue the work on the city. I think it's important stuff to do.
And Mr. Ottenberg.
The reason I'm running for re-election to the city council is the same reason I got involved in the first place, and that's to make government accessible to the people. Sometimes government can seem intimidating. My main role as a representative is, I think, to remove that intimidating factor so that people can easily get things done. I represent my constituents. I think if you talk to them, they would say I represent them well because I take the time to come out and see them where they live. I don't wait for them to come to me. One of the things I do from spring through late fall is I participate in a Monday morning cycling club ride. We traverse the city, about 35 miles of the city, starting from the east side of the city out towards the west side of the city, circling around down through the south. And I get to see a lot of potholes along the way. I get to see a lot of things that need fixed. So it all is part of constituent service. So I enjoy helping people. I had a sales and marketing career. My job in sales was to take care of the customer. Now my customer is the residents that I represent.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Mabry.
Thank you. I feel important now. This position, when I ran for it and was elected, successful, neighbors, friends, others, they just had an undying curiosity. Bob, why in the world are you doing this? And they would fall right in my trap. I stated, I'm only in it for the money. And that, of course, took me back. I go, that's $300 a month. I tell you, I'm more worried about how to pay the taxes on it, being raised on the tax brackets. Well, they knew that was not anywhere near the case, but then it made them listen. I go, okay, now I'll tell you. I think that my tenure, you live out here 4 decades, you're going to pick up some stuff and you've got opinions on how you'd like to see things going. Then the accidental happenstance that my wife and I, when we came out here, we couldn't picture the city any better developed than it is now. Of course, we could all be driving Jags or Bimmers or whatever the hell rich people do, but we're rich a different way, all of us out here. I've had an accidental ability at effective forecasting. I can look at something and I say, well, I need that, and I need some of this, and I need resource management to get there, and then put a project together. That had been my career. It's project management development. And in a meeting scenario, I'm always reminded someone, an engineer with a client, said, I was a contract hire for management of a new tooling operation. What exactly is your job here, Bob? I said, I'm the official dumb question asker. Get paid a lot of money for that. And it was in a large setting with management, and it took. And I'm always imagining, what are we forgetting here? What are we not thinking of? Why didn't that statement jibe with anything else that's been said before it? And why is it not factual? So those are reasons.
Okay, thank you very much. Address the audience. Okay, so that concludes our forum for this evening. And I'd like first to thank the candidates for their participation. I think this is a clear demonstration of your commitment to public service and your commitment to the city of Wildwood. So thank you, and a round of applause for our candidates. Okay. And so as a reminder to you, the audience, it is now your responsibility to go vote. Absentee voting with an excuse is available right now, and no excuse absentee voting starts March 24th. A variety of satellite locations will be available starting March 31st, and the closest one to here is the Daniel Boone Branch Library. Polls are going to be open April 7th from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And as a reminder, you can vote at any polling place in St. Louis County. And the St. Louis County Board of Elections has a really good website with a lot more information. And if you are worried about forgetting to vote on April 7th, the League of Women Voters would be very happy to remind you. We have little cards in the back where we will send you reminders. And I always tell people, we don't spam you, we don't ask you for money, you just get a reminder that says a few weeks before the election to check your voter registration, a couple weeks later to make a voting plan, and finally on the day, remember to go vote. So with that, I'll conclude our evening. Thank you very much, and safe travels home.